All right, risk. There's two types, fundamentally. In life and business, there is the risk of losing money and the risk of not making money. By the way, as far as why I should even be talking about this, I am an entrepreneur and author who lives in Austin, Texas. I've published one book. It didn't do a whole lot, and that's not necessarily a claim to fame for me, but I have put out a book that I'm proud of. I currently own and operate a dryer vent cleaning business that is thriving in the 12th largest city in the United States against a ton of competitors. I have about 7 years of experience as a professional freelance marketing consultant and specialist, and I have been at least partly independently employed for the last about 8 years, and I have been fully self-employed for the last 2 years. So that's what I get my knowledge and my ideas from. I take it from my own experience, the stuff that I'm studied. I'm also a big nerd. You see all these books here. I've studied a lot of business, a lot of philosophy, a lot of stuff, applied that stuff to my own life, to my own businesses. And then that is what becomes the lectures that I give in front of this board. Risk of losing money and of not making money. So these are the two fundamental types of risk when it comes to just basic money in life and business. By merely being alive, your risk of losing money and of not making money is 100%. Oops, that's $100. Being alive is going to cost you far more than $100, unfortunately. 100%. Okay, so if you are an adult who is alive, every day that you are alive, you have a 100% chance of losing money. And if you are an adult who has no skills and doesn't do anything, then your risk of not making money is also 100%. And so this leads us into the kind of this principles of how do you reduce these 100% risks that are just fundamental to life of losing money and of not making money. You do that by defending the money and the opportunity that you have. And so this is defense. And you also do it by creating opportunities for you to go out into the world and make money, or to, to make money. So we'll call this offense. So that hopefully starts already to clarify how you counteract these risks that are certain by merely being alive. You are certain to lose money because being alive costs money. And if you do nothing, then you are certain to not make money. So I'm gonna say, fundamentally, the purpose behind school, behind self-education on YouTube, the reason you're watching this channel, the reason you're watching Rudy, the reason you're watching Pokey Annie, the reason you're watching TJ at Pokey Pastor, is because you are wanting to acquire knowledge and skills. And so, knowledge, I spelled it wrong. That's ridiculous. And skills. Okay, so knowledge and skills increase, acquiring knowledge and skills In the short term, it increases your risk of losing money because it's going to, in most cases, it's going to cost either time or money. And spending time there's an opportunity cost to that. So it does pose a short-term risk of losing money if you spend money on school, if you spend money on a course, if you spend money on just anything that's meant to help you learn or acquire knowledge or skills, training, anything like that. It does temporarily increase your risk of losing money. So you want to be strategic about where you spend your time and money when you are trying to acquire knowledge and skills. You want to acquire things that you know are going to be useful for your life, the direction that your life is going to go. You don't know exactly where your life is going to go, but it is at least partly in your hands. And so be strategic. Now, knowledge and skills sharply decrease, both in the short term and certainly in the long term, your risk of not making money. So the chance of you being alive for a full 24 hours and having absolutely zero opportunities or ways to make money goes down. That chance goes down as you acquire more knowledge and skills. Does that make sense? So we're going to say that goes down. Knowledge and skills offset the risk of not making money in exchange for a slight increase in the risk of losing money in the short term. So now we'll talk about relationships, networking. So I'm going to say network and relationships. Network and relationships. So when you have a strong network and you have strong relationships, this does to a certain extent decrease your risk of losing money. It doesn't necessarily impact this a lot, but it does decrease your risk of losing money because in the event that something dangerous or undesirable is headed your way, you have people in your corner who can warn you. You have people in your corner who can help you, and so on. So building a strong network and strong relationships helps offset the risk of losing money a little bit. It also helps you offset the risk of not making money because if people know you, like you, trust you, and care about you, then when opportunities for which you are well suited cross their radar, they will find a way to pass them on to you. And so building a strong network and healthy relationships decreases your chance of losing money because you have partners in life that will help you when you need it. And building a network and strong relationships also decreases your chance of not making money because people who know what you are capable of will alert you to opportunities that you might otherwise not discover on your own. And you can already start to see how these start to compound. So the more knowledge and skills that you build, plus the strength of the network and the relationships that you build, if your network and the people with whom you have a relationship are aware of the knowledge and skills that you possess, and therefore of your capacity to generate goodness and opportunity and desirable outcomes for yourself and others in the world, then the power of those network and relationships multiply by the power of your knowledge and skills. And then you can think of money as a physical coalescence of power. Money is what power crystallizes into and becomes material. And by that I mean money enables you to turn your thoughts and desires into reality by deploying that money on your behalf to create new opportunities, to enlist other people to join you along your cause, but hiring employees, to purchase tools and software and stuff that you need, and so on. And so money is a crystallization of power. And power, you can think of, is your ability to influence your reality. And so these risks, you can think about how they interact with money, but because of how these risks interacting with money, that means that they're interacting with your personal power. If you're watching this video and you think money and power are a bad thing, then I can't really help you. But if you understand that money and power are fundamental to life, and you understand what it is that they actually are and what they represent, then, of course, keep watching, because you're going to be getting value here. Okay, so now we're going to go into like actual tangible business stuff. I think that's the next move here. So network and relationships, I think filtering that down or making it even more specific, I'm going to say brand. Now, brand, I'm going to say brand and reputation. It's kind of like a subset of network and relationships, because your network and your relationships are based on an idea that people have about who you are and what you're capable of. And that aspect, that avatar, I suppose, that they have of you is based on the information that they gain about you, which is based on the information that you release. Everything is PR. Everything that you do is PR. Everything you post, everything you say, every time you have a negative outburst about something, someone can draw the conclusion that you are volatile and that you easily crack under pressure. Every time you hold up stoically under pressure, people can draw the conclusion that you are sturdy and reliable and can be counted on. Every time that you are late to a commitment or you break a promise, people draw the conclusion that you are not someone that, again, can be reliable and can be counted on. And the reverse also applies. Every time you keep your promises, that compounds into brand and reputation. And this applies to your business, but it also applies to you as a person in your life, in your career, in your relationships, everywhere. Who you are depends on who is thinking about you and the experiences that they have had with you. Nobody is in your head. Nobody knows what you're thinking. You might have the best intentions, but if the way that you have conducted yourself has made the impression that you are lazy, or that you are selfish, or that you are foolish, then all that those people have to go on is the actual experiences that they've had with you, the evidence that they've seen from your conduct. And so that is your brand and reputation. And it follows you everywhere that you go. And so if you find yourself in life and work and career struggling to get people to take you seriously, struggling to get raises and promotions, stuff like that, yes, it's possible that you're in a bad environment, but most of the time it's a sign that you have built some sort of negative brand or reputation for yourself by the way that you behave. You can undo that. That is in your power. You can't totally change how people feel about you, but you can change the signals that you send. And the same applies to business. If you build a reputation around meeting people's expectations, keeping your promises, and conducting yourself honestly, and giving at least equal value to what people spend with you, ideally even more value than people spend with you, then your opportunity will increase. And therefore your risk, again, of losing money and your risk of not making money, both will decrease by the strength of your brand and reputation. So brand and reputation, I'm going to say it can go either way. It's a multiplier that multiplies the power of the basic power of your knowledge and skills and your network and relationships. And so I'm going to show how this all kind of ties together. If you build a reputation around having a low amount of knowledge and skills and a large network of people and many people with whom you have a relationship believe that you have little knowledge and skills, then that is going to be a negative multiplier on your potential, and it is going to increase your risk, both of losing money and of not making money. And because you can even think of just like, if you're talking to a police officer, you get pulled over and you're a jerk and you have like a record of being a jerk, your risk of losing money in that situation is very, very high, you know. But you can decrease that by like not being a jerk to police officers and not establishing wantonly a criminal record and a reputation of wantonly breaking the law. So that's like a tangible example, but the same thing would apply in business. You know, if you build a reputation on Reddit, on Discord, and in your own reviews on marketplace platforms and stuff like that, if you build a reputation around disappointing people, around taking advantage of people, around not conditioning your cards correctly, around not giving refunds when you make a mistake, and so on, that your reputation and your brand will compound negatively, and people may believe that you have knowledge and skills, but that you are using those knowledge and skills to actively hurt and exploit people. And so in that sense, brand and reputation will increase your chance of losing money because platforms won't have your side, won't take your side in the case of disputes. Also of not making sales of the inventory that you carry. So you'll lose money on that inventory that you're holding because people don't trust you enough to spend their money with you. And also your risk of not making money, again, by not making sales and not having opportunities come your way, will also increase because of your reputation. So now, let's say saleable assets. This is the main thing that most people would think of when it comes to TCG business, as far as like what impacts your risk. And so saleable assets is kind of abstract in the sense that it can be inventory. So it can be sealed that you pick up, sealed product, singles, accessories, top loaders, penny sleeves, binders, other collectibles, whatever it is that you purchase that is saleable. That's like a tangible saleable asset, but it's also going to be stuff like your knowledge. This video, the saleable asset of this video is the knowledge that you're gaining. I'm not selling it to you, I am leasing it to YouTube in the hope that I'll get monetized, which I believe that I will within the next like 2 to 3 months. And so that's the saleable asset of this video. This is the thing that brings you in, and how you handle your saleable assets, again, builds you a brand and reputation among a network and of relationships that demonstrates the degree of knowledge and skills that you have and how you have a tendency to use those things. And so you can see how all of this locks in together. And so saleable assets, purchasing saleable assets. It's kind of like knowledge and skills. You have to spend time and money acquiring sales and assets. And so by their nature, saleable assets increase your risk of losing money because you might buy stuff that you cannot sell. And so then that increases your risk of losing money. So you got to take a risk. But saleable assets also decrease your risk of not making money. Almost exclusively a decrease there. Brand and reputation can go both directions. Having valuable stuff that you can sell is pretty much always going to decrease your risk of not making money. And it will pretty much always, if it's a tangible good that you have to buy and store and so on, it's always going to increase your risk of losing money as well. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. You get a little bit of an equivalent exchange. there. And so inside of your saleable assets, there are things that are going to compound. So by building a broad assortment, and so this is many things that can appeal to one person, or many things that can appeal to many people. This, as you broaden your assortment, overall, you're going to decrease your risk of losing money. Because if you have 100 cards listed on your store, the odds that you're going to find somebody that wants one of those 100 cards are far lower than if you have 1,000 cards on your store, or 10,000, or 100,000 cards listed on your store. And again, this is assuming that they're not all the same card. And so having a broad assortment decreases your risk of losing money and decreases your risk of not making money, because, I mean, it kind of, again, there's a certain amount of increase to your risk of not making money, but if you understand who your ICP is, overall, you're going to see a net decrease of your risk to lose money and, of course, a risk of not making money. And so this is, if the only set that you stock in your store is the latest Hobbit set of Magic the Gathering, or Pitch Black from Pokemon, if that's the only set you have available in your store, your risk of losing money on that is higher than if you have, I mean, even all the worst sets. If you have Pitch Black, Perfect Order, and Chaos Rising, the sets that everybody loves to hate. If you have Crimson Vow, Thunder Junction, and I don't know what else people love to hate for that stuff. Rise of the Eldrazi, I guess. If those are the sets that you have, the fact that you have more of them means that it's more likely that something is going to catch someone's attention, and then they'll also buy other things from you. And so that broadening your assortment decreases your risk of not making money, and overall, if you're wise and strategic about it, will decrease your risk of losing money. So likewise, it's like expanding into more TCGs. I personally sell Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Union Arena, and Gundam, and I want to sell Sorcery, Dragon Ball Super, and I'm considering selling Flesh and Blood. I don't know enough about it yet to know if I want to take that seriously, but that's all this stuff is on my radar. And then when the new Naruto game comes out, I think I want to carry that too, but we shall see. It depends on if it's a nightmare to stock like One Piece is. So that's how assortment impacts that. I had another thing here: saleable assets, your assortment, discounts, listing, pricing. So I'm going to say pricing. So I'm going to say pricing, discounts, and offers. Discounts and offers. Yeah. I've talked about what an offer is in another recent video. An offer is a combination of products, services, and experiences. That is an offer. And so one reverse hollow Meowth is an offer, for 50 cents. And buy 10, get 2 free is an offer. Also, subscribe to my Patreon for $5 a month and get discounts on my sealed product, and get like a monthly roundtable call with me, and get exclusive access to like some merch, and get exclusive access to a Discord. That is an offer, for example. So this combination of pricing, discounts, and offers as you get creative and you build them well, these decrease your risk of losing money and decrease your risk of not making money, because you give people a compelling reason to buy from you. And these work in a vacuum. If you put the right offer to the right person, in front of the right person in the right circumstance, they'll buy it from anyone. It doesn't matter who makes the offer. All that matters is what the offer is. An example I used in one of my last videos is Pokemon cards at the gas station. It doesn't really matter. The context of who is selling matters pretty much not at all. None of the other stuff matters. How much knowledge and skills that the people have about trading cards and Pokemon and anything like that doesn't matter. Network and relationships doesn't matter. Brand and reputation doesn't matter. All that matters is that they have the saleable asset in the form of Pokemon cards on offer, probably above market price. Probably not at MSRP. It's probably going to be like $6 or $8 or something for a pack of Pokemon cards. People will still buy it though because it's convenient. It's an impulse buy, and the thing is what it is. You can't really mess up Pokemon cards that are sealed. So, well, you can, but not for the context of this video. So yeah, that's an example of how pricing, discounts, offers, availability, all that context can work in a vacuum, but it will compound, because if someone has the option to buy a pack of Pokemon cards for $6 or $7 from a random gas station, or to buy a pack of Pokemon cards for $6 or $7 or even $8 from a YouTuber and live streamer that they trust and that they have bought from before, and who also has singles and other types of sealed product and desirable merchandise and stuff, and has already served them well in the past, the likelihood that someone drives down to the gas station to buy their Pokemon cards versus ordering from PokePaster during a rip and ship live stream, they're probably going to order from TJ, who is the PokePaster. And so you see, again, how some of this stuff works in a vacuum, but where it really unlocks opportunity and really starts to play offense and defense to counteract risk is when you add it all together and allow it to compound upon each other and with time. Time compounds all of these things. Time compounds the value and the risk level represented by your saleable assets. Something like MetaZoo, when they went under, the risk of losing money on that compounded, it spiked positively. But as time passes, the likelihood that MetaZoo is unsaleable is probably going to go down, because there's going to be a little bit of a niche collector vibe to it. And does that mean that all MetaZoo is going to sell? No, certainly not. But people who leverage knowledge and skills, network and relationships, and brand and reputation strategically, and offers, the power of pricing, discounts, and offers, the liquidity that they will have on that quote unquote dead product will increase, and therefore the risk of losing money on that product will decrease, even on like a dead TCG like that, or the either of the 2 Dragon Ball card games that have ceased to be alive. So that's a pretty solid overview of how risk works in your TCG business. It's kind of abstract, but it's meant to be like a first principles type of thing, like really fundamental stuff. You can plug in a lot of different examples here. So I'd say if you have other questions or examples of stuff like how does this impact it, drop a comment, let me know, and I can give you an assessment on that, and we can kind of talk about what it all looks like. What would you add to the list? How do you in your life, in your business, defend against the risk of losing money and take the offensive against the risk of not making money? How do you counter those in your life, in your TCG business? So let me know in the comments. Some announcements. I want to launch a Discord, but I am going to wait until I have a little bit more of a critical mass. So what I'm doing is you can go to my website and email me and say, hey, I want to join the Discord beta. And then I'm going to invite maybe 10 or 20 people into the Discord beta to help me get it set up. And then once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'll launch the Discord publicly. I think that's how I'll do it. Maybe 500, it depends what it all looks like. But yeah, so if you want to get in on the Discord beta, go to the website, www.getdkc.com. Scroll down to the bottom, there's an email form there. Send me an email and say, hey, I want to join the Discord. And then I can add you to the Discord for the beta. Giveaways. When I get 100 email subscribers, I am going to start launching giveaways. It's going to start with, I don't have a ton to give away, so it's going to start with cheap stuff and stuff that I am not planning to sell. So like, I'm going to give away all my One Piece stuff. I may end up giving away some Flesh and Blood stuff. I'm going to give away a lot of Japanese and Chinese Pokemon cards. And I'm going to give away some lightly played bulk playable cards that I just don't necessarily want to list on the store. So there's going to be some stuff like that. I might do some sealed giveaways. I've got some stuff that I've been stocking up just that I found on Facebook Marketplace. Oddball stuff. It's not like high. It's not going to be Ascended Heroes or anything like that. It's going to be oddball stuff. Like I found some cool Mega Man cards at GameStop. I found some cool like Dragon Ball Z collectible card things. I found some Zelda cards. I don't really want to give them away, but I'll give away some because they're pretty hard to find and I want them, but I'll give away some. So yeah, the giveaways, if you want to get on the email list for the giveaways, visit list.getdkc.com. That's list.getdkc.com. And of course, if you want to buy some cardboard from me, visit www.getdkc.com. I'm going to be launching a full storefront soon. For now, it's still my stuff listed on TCG Player. After I list the full storefront, though, I'm going to sell some of my used books. I got business books here, Simon Sinek. I got Ryan Holiday up here. I got Seneca, but I also have some manga. I've got Twilight, one of the volumes of the Twilight Princess manga. I've got Boruto. I've got Black Clover. So I've got they're used manga. I may list some of those for sale at like really discount prices on the website. And I also may do some manga giveaways once I start doing a little bit more discussion on manga stuff. So yeah, if you are interested in the manga side of the business, drop a comment too, let me know, because I'm trying to gauge when I should launch that type of content that's going to be on a different channel. Thanks for watching. Best of luck in your business and life adventure. And if you have any questions or anything and content suggestions, let me know in the comments. Peace.